morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a look at the best new decks that are coming around from the Sword and Shield Vivid Voltage expansion. The pre-releases, so much as they were, have happened. The set is coming out in about a week's time, so we need to take a look at the best decks which are going to be coming around because of it. And I'm talking about best new decks. Zacian V decks are going to get a big boost because E/V has got a lovely attack which can go through any effects on the defending Pokemon, making a mockery of all of those decks that try and stall you out. But that's not a new deck. That is a new trick for an old deck. We're talking about new decks. And we've got a couple honourable mentions to start off with. Decks that I have seen do well and win little tournaments in Japan, but decks that I am not entirely sold on. So for instance, Togekiss V. And of course then Togekiss VMAX. This is a weird kind of deck which I just did not expect to be good, but I've seen it win, so we should talk about it. Togekiss V is largely irrelevant. Ooh, 1 energy, 90 damage against an evolution Pokemon. It's not enough, nobody cares. But Togekiss VMAX for 2 energy does 120 damage, and you search your deck for any 2 cards and put them into your hand. Now this is a deck that we generally see being played with the Magneton that gives up a prize but then searches out free supporter cards. And of course one of those is probably going to end up being Lieutenant Surge's strategy, so that you can then play the other 2. And we largely play this as an energy denial deck. So you play 4 copies of Crushing Hammer. We have 4 copies of Team Yell Grunt that puts an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon into their hand. And then we play a bunch of Pal Pad to recover Team Yell Grunt so we can play it over and over again. And energy-wise, you are absolutely golden here. You can play Triple Acceleration Energy if you like, but you can also play stuff like Capture Energy to search out your basic Pokemon, Powerful Colorless Energy to do an extra 10 damage, etc, etc. I'm still not entirely convinced on this, and do remember that Counter Gain has rotated, and Balelbra and Bryson Man, the milling card, got banned. Maybe that's going to be enough to stop the deck in its tracks, but it's one that I think we should take a little bit of a look at. Another deck which has gone and done a little bit of winning but has still left me a little bit unconvinced is Galarian Darmanitan VMAX. Largely here we are focused on the VMAX. For 4 water energy, which admittedly is quite a lot, you do 200 to the active and 30 to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So yeah, fine, it's quite expensive, but you can't deny it's certainly getting the damage going around here. Now you would play this with Frostmoth that lets you accelerate as much water energy as you like from your hand to your bench water Pokemon. That's how we pay the attack cost and actually make this viable. And the other Pokemon we really want to be playing around with here is a Alolan Sandslash. Here we see a GX attack which does 100 damage to all of your opponent's Pokemon that already have damage counters on. So the theory here is you spread with Galarian Darmanitan a few times and then just clear your opponent's board with a Alolan Sandslash. Maybe it will end up being good enough, maybe it won't. But as soon as you get Galarian Darmanitan active, you just attack for a couple of turns, you wait for it, and then boom! Out comes a Alolan Sandslash. I should mention we also play one of the new cards from Vivid Voltage here. We play, I think it's called Telescopic Sight. It's one of these cards where I prefer the name we've been using since it was shown off in Japan. But it does mean that your attacks that hit the bench do 30 more to Pokemon Vs and GXs. So now you're not doing 30 to bench GXs and Vs, you're doing 60. That is going to make a little bit of a difference. Now, one deck that I am properly on the fence about here is one I can only really call Amazing RARE.DEC. You see, the Amazing Rares have come around, and they've all got ridiculous attack costs, but they're all ridiculously good if you can pay the attack cost. So the main one here, the best one among them, is Jirachi. Now, Jirachi's got the rather lovely ability, Dreamy Revelation, that lets you look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one in your hand and the other one back on top of your deck. That's going to help with consistency. But if you can get a Psychic and a Fighting and a Metal Energy on there, and yes, I am fully aware that that is not the easiest thing to do, but if you can, you get to search your deck for 7 basic energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon in any way that you like. So the theory here is you try and get the energy on Jirachi as fast as possible, and then you use that to set up your other Pokemon. If by some miracle your opponent doesn't KO you the turn you use Amazing Star, you can use it again, have 14 energy out on the field, although you won't actually get 7 the second time. You'll probably run out of energy because you'd have to be playing 17, and you're probably not. The list that I've got in a video, and I should say I've done videos on all of these decks. I'll pop links in the description so you can go check them out. The list I'm going to give you for Amazing RARE.DEC has actually only got 16 energy in. But still, that would be awesome. Most of the time you're only going to get this attack off once anyway, but it's going to work rather nicely indeed. And then you just bring out a suite of amazing rare Pokemon to take the mick. One of the best, maybe the best, is Raikou. Now, Raikou needs a Grass, Lightning, Metal, but you do 120 to the active, and you do 120 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, either setting up multiple KOs, or maybe if you're against weaker Pokemon, single prize decks, etc., taking multiple prizes? That sounds pretty good to me. The other one we generally see played as a multiple is Rayquaza Amazing Rare. Now, Rayquaza Amazing Rare, again, it's got an awkward attack cost, of course it does. 1 Grass, 1 Lightning, 1 Fighting. But you discard all basic energy from this Pokemon and do 80 damage for each type of basic energy you discarded in this way. But you're probably going to be playing 5 different types of basic energy, so go nuts, quite frankly. Just go nuts and discard them, and, you know, if you discard 4 of these, you're doing 320 damage. That is Pokemon VMAX one-hit KOing territory. That is pretty gosh darned awesome. Now, we probably would see a Zacian teched in here, just as a nice little one-off, and Zacian's got a lovely little attack that lets you do 150 damage for a Grass, Psychic, and Metal. But if your opponent has any VMAX in play, you do 300 instead, although annoyingly it won't actually KO many of the VMAXs. Speaking of VMAXs, you may well play Zamazenta. For a Lightning, a Fighting, and a Metal, you do 180, but during your opponent's next turn, you prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon VMAX. And of course, if you've shut their VMAXs out the game, they're going to be going ahead and using their Pokemon Vs, which are easier to KO with Rayquaza and are probably 2-hit KO'd by Raikou, so you probably don't really care. Now, in terms of getting the energy on, that is the big question. We're definitely going to be playing a copy of Tapu Koko. It attaches 2 basic energy, Lightning, 1 to each of 2 bench Pokemon when you lost zone it from the bench. And after that, you're probably playing Turbo Patch. Kind of annoying, incidentally, that Jirachi does not have any Lightning energy in its attack cost. Otherwise, it'd be way easier to get rolling. Now, you are going to be playing Metal Saucer Energy Switch here. So you can essentially Metal Saucer onto a Jirachi, attach an energy from the discard, and then Energy Switch it over. And Jirachi does use Metal Energy. So, you know, 1 Turbo Patch, Metal Saucer Energy Switch attached for the turn. Boom! Not easy, not by any stretch, but doable. And then you are rolling. You are relying on flipping heads with Turbo Patch. It attaches a basic energy from your discard pile to one of your basic non-GX Pokemon, just so long as you can flip aheads, which again, not always the easiest thing to do. But there is a lot of potential here. You're essentially relying on Metal Saucer, Energy Switch, Turbo Patch to get Jirachi rolling, then using Jirachi to get the rest of them rolling, and then seeing where we go. There is another build of the deck with Porygon Z, where you use Aurora Energy to essentially pay whichever one you want, although do remember that Rayquaza needs basic energy to discard to do the attack, so Porygon Z attaching as much special energy during your turn as you like, maybe not the best match for that. But Aurora Energy will count as any energy, and then you can use things like Capture Energy to draw your Pokemon and bench them, or Draw Energy to just draw a card, etc. If we were in the expanded format or Japan's format and we still had Rainbow Energy as well, so we essentially had 8 energy that could pay any energy cost. I would like this an awful lot more. Now, one deck I am convinced about, but an awful lot of people seem to not be in full agreement with me, is Pikachu VMAX. Now, Pikachu VMAX, I'm not a huge fan of Pikachu V, incidentally. I do think we are on the VMAX train, toot toot. It's got 1 attack for 3 lightning energy that does 120 damage, but if you discard all the energy attached to Pikachu VMAX, you do 270 damage instead, which is a lot. That is as much as Eternatus VMAX does, but you don't need 8 bench Pokemon to do it. Although you do need to discard all your energy and reattach it. But then again, you can just hit for 120 a lot. You only discard the energy when you need to do 270. And again, Tapu Koko is going to work beautifully here. Again, Turbo Patch is going to work beautifully here. Though do remember, you have to Turbo Patch before you evolve. You can't Turbo Patch onto a VMAX. They are evolved Pokemon. And do remember that we've got Rose. Rose does make you discard your entire hand, which is not fun. But before you do that, you get to attach up to 2 basic energy cards from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon VMAX, like Pikachu. And my point here is we've got plenty of ways to accelerate the energy. The Electrode that just came out in Vivid Voltage might work nicely here. You've got to KO it and give up a prize, but you also get to search your deck for 2 lightning energy and attach them to your Pokemon, lightning Pokemon, in any way you like. And if you're giving up a prize, but then you're also getting a prize, is it really that bad? Arguably not. Then, of course, you've got really nice partners you can use, like Vikavolt, which can be used to item lock your opponent, and you can just win some games in that way. And this could be good. Yes, I know that Electro Power got rotated out, but you're still doing the same amount of damage as Eternatus, although to be fair, they do play a lot of Galarian Zigzagoon and oftentimes scoop up net, so, I don't know, I mean, it sucks that it's going, don't get me wrong. And you are losing Thunder Mountain, which would mean for at least 1 turn, Pikachu could be a 2 energy attacker. I know that those are pretty bad losses all in all, but I don't particularly care. I still think there is a lot of potential with this deck, and I haven't even mentioned Speed Lightning Energy, which lets you draw 2 cards when you attach it. But I think the deck that has the greatest chance to be a really genuinely legitimately top tier metagame deck from Vivid Voltage is Coalossal VMAX. And again, this is a deck on which I've made a video, and worth pointing out, that video does have free deck lists in, so if you want deck lists for any of the decks I'm talking about today, do follow all the links in the description where you can go and find out more about each of these decks and go and get yourself some deck lists. Now, Coalossal VMAX is, I mean, it's right up my alley, right? We got a single energy fighting Pokemon that does lots of damage. That is basically my fever dream. For 1 fighting energy, we're not loving Coalossal V, we are loving the VMAX. And we saw the V before the VMAX, and I was like, yeah, the V sucks, why do we even have this? And then the VMAX got revealed, and I was like, yes, that is why we have this, I am in. Coalossal VMAX for a single fighting energy does 40 damage, but you've got to discard the top card of your deck. But if that card is an energy card, you instead do 130, and attach that card to this Pokemon. And it doesn't need to be a basic energy. Weakness card energy for if you're against grass decks, go for it. Stone Fighting Energy, which is another new card from Vivid Voltage. The one that reduces damage done to the fighting Pokemon to which it is attached by 20. Oh, look! That can be attached using this attack as well. And then you build up to a big G-Max boulder that does 240 damage. Yeah. And the thing is, we can guarantee that the top card of our deck is going to be an energy card. The best way we've got is Oranguru. Let you swap a card in your hand with the top card of your deck. So find an energy card in your hand, put it on top of your deck, draw a card, attack with Coalossal. Oh, look. Now Oranguru has guaranteed I've got an energy, so I do the 130, attach that energy to Coalossal VMAX, and I get to draw a card as well. Let's do this, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do this. In Expanded, we've just had it rotated, unfortunately. You do also have Macargo, and Macargo is better, yeah? Every deck lost good stuff to the rotation. Makago is better. The ability lets you just search your deck for any card and put it on top of your deck. So you just search for a Stone Fighting Energy, leave it on top, and boom, off you go. Yes, it sucks that we've lost Makago, but Oranguru will do the trick. Don't forget, we can also use Rose here. And then, of course, we've got a bunch of other tricks being a fighting Pokemon. Things like Martial Arts Dojo that lets you do an extra 10 damage if you've got basic fighting attached, or an extra 40 damage if you're behind on prizes. Your retreat cost of 4 means you can use buff padding to give yourself an extra 50 HP, making you even more difficult to knock out than you were before. Or you can use Karate Belt, which reduces your attack cost by 1 if you are behind on prizes. I like Coalossal VMAX. It really does strike me as a kind of deck that could legitimately make a big impact on the metagame. I'm not saying it will, but I am absolutely saying it could. And if you're asking me to pick a best deck that really came from Vivid Voltage, it's Coalossal VMAX. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the best new decks coming around in Vivid Voltage. There are some decks we haven't talked about. There are some budget decks we're going to talk about in a video very shortly. And there are some new tricks for old decks, but those are not things we're focused on today. Today we're focused on new decks, and I think there are some good ones coming around in Vivid Voltage. But I'd like to know which decks that I've talked about today that you are really excited about. And I would like to know if there are any decks from Vivid Voltage that you think I should have talked about but didn't. There is a comment section. That's where we can have those conversations. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.